Hello, my name is Sir Mortimer Pauline Huddlesworth III, but I would be truly honored if you would refer to me as Sir Mortimer Pauline Huddlesworth III. Let me first apologize for my extended absence from social media. I took a job at a remote hotel during the off-season. I was the caretaker. But then, I've always been the caretaker. Nonetheless, after several years in a protective coma, which I did largely for funsies, I thought it best to get back into the swing of things. It was my understanding that my consciousness was to be uploaded into a new body, but obviously things went awry. I wouldn't say I'm angry, but if my publicist turned out to be the prey in a hunting humans on a remote island owned by George Clooney scenario, I wouldn't think twice about pulling the trigger on that harpoon, as they say. And of course, when I say publicist, I mean the dead sock in the corner of my bungalow that somebody glued googly eyes to. I won't say who that person was, Maggie Smith. I'll just refer to her by her colloquial term, she who walks behind the corn. Hilarious as usual, Margaret. And as it turns out, I arrived just in time for the latest pandemic. At my age, plagues are really no big deal, and I speak as a survivor of Nicolas Cage's 1989 Key Party, from which nobody, and I mean no one, emerged without some form of gonorrhea, telepathic crabs, a deep-seated fear of hands, rectal decay, a bizarre clotting disorder called butterblood, death, or in Betty Davis's case, all of the above. The woman basically exploded as she strutted forth from that repurposed grain silo, and we all, to our eventual shame, applauded, thinking it was not the most impressive thing we'd seen in the course of that 72 hours, but deserved at least a golf clap. R.I.P. Miss Davis. We here at Magenta Gardens have made something of a lifestyle around sheltering in place. Roger McCormick hasn't left his bungalow since 2012, when he swears a bird was following him around with what he called a sexual gleam in its eye. Oh, sorry, there's no story there. That bird was steamed up for old Raj. It got weird fast. When it finally stopped pressing its feathered genitalia against his windows and flew away, we all breathed a sigh of relief. But no, the only thing that's really different these days is that the maids won't come all the way into our homes, preferring instead to fling bales of clean garbage bags through our doors whilst repeatedly making the sign of the cross. I guess it's not so different from the usual, except of course that Francesca won't return my phone calls. We're not allowed out of our homes, of course, so we've developed coping strategies which we share via our daily newsletter, the Magenta Gardens Gazette. Diane Lopida down in number 4, for example, has taken to cataloging her various types of crying. I see here she's logged over 100 so far, with titles such as, I haven't seen my grandchildren in over a year, my grandchildren and I were playing Scarecrow and they forgot about me, so I spent a week and a half in a cornfield, and now that I know I'm a terrible scarecrow, what's actually valuable in my life? Great work, Diane. Keep 'em coming. Looks like Tiki Hamilton and his bachelor friend Bruce have been keeping busy by time traveling. They just returned from an excursion to ancient Tanzania, where they sat in on the birth of modern man and picked up a sampler of jams and jellies. Oh, next up is a quick trip to the fall of Rome. Slides to follow if they can figure out how to upload them to the interwebs. Who's got one functional thumb and ain't holding his breath for that slideshow? This guy. Bring your N95s, gentlemen, and safe travels. Lonnie DiCaprio, no relation, I don't care what he tells you, has taken up cement. There's no other information on that. Wendy Jenkins in Bungalow 12 enjoys baking and would like us all to know that the last batch of her signature roast beef cookies did in fact contain raisins, though she's written a lengthy denial of ever having been in contact with raisins due to what she describes as a raisin incident she experienced at a pivotal point in her girlhood. She goes on to detail her latest theory as to how the raisins could have gotten involved with said cookies, which appears to involve a ghost she's been hiding for years in an urn, and who, instead of paying rent, dresses her up for parties in the latest fashions. This from the woman who tried to make a tuna fish caftan for last summer's Labor Day barbecue and shingles inoculation party. You know, the main problem I have with this article, and I'm using that term extremely loosely, is that it goes on for several pages. I mean, maybe Met Gala Bruce Willis could help you trim this down, Wendy? Or does the Gazette have editors? Or is it just a bunch of June bugs that hate us, scribbling away in a root cellar somewhere? I mean, I'm just finishing reading this 1,000 Years of Solitude rough cut, and it's almost time for the nurses to shove our dinner through the mail slots. You've taken my day away, Jenkins. Man, I hope it's tilapia night. It was raspberry lasagna night. Again. As for me, I've been keeping busy with various projects around the house. I have my plants, I'm going digital with all my photographs, I'm waiting for the next lightning storm so I can get that man I've been building in the attic up and running. You know, nothing too interesting. I'm just teasing. I wouldn't know how to go digital with a photograph if you printed out the instructions and slapped me with them. The whole process sounds vaguely pornographic, and not in a good way. Well, the sun is setting, which means it's almost time for me to let Mr. Hyde take over. Last night he left me a kale smoothie, which I very much enjoyed, and almost made up for the family of murdered raccoons he left out on the lanai. Thank you so much for joining me here in Bungalow 17, and until next time, I'm Sir Mortimer Pauline Huddlesworth III, saying, not to take you from Namiog! Good night. Why is that funny? Various reasons.